So let me move to Fiza. If Fiza, are you there? Can you hear me? Fiza Farhan?
I can hear you, Fowzia.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Very
Fine,
well.
thank
How are you doing?
Fiza, you are a shining example for our young women in Pakistan. You know, the women aspire to become to come into the energy sector, and you're an example for them. Can you tell us from your experience what skills should be taught in our education system to attract, you know, young women into the STEM and energy fields, especially if they want to work in this big energy projects?
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Fowzia. This subject is very close to my heart because one, as a practitioner earlier, when I was the CEO of Baksh Foundation and Baksh Energy, about a decade and a half ago, I used to be the only woman in a room when we were doing any kind of energy discussions, right? Not just the only woman in a panel, I used to be the only woman in a room, in a building at times as well, which was, which was not very easy. And lots of glass ceilings had to be broken every day. And, lots of times I questioned, have I chosen the wrong sector? Is it for me or not? I'm glad I kind of stuck to it and had a whole team of engineers who were all men and kept going on. And it so happened that when my kind of perception changed, when I went on this delegation from Pakistan to Denmark, and there were 10 companies from Pakistan, energy companies, and 10 companies from Denmark, and I was still the only woman in the entire delegation. So there was no woman from Denmark's side as well. And that kind of I kept questioning, what is wrong? Where are the women? And then I looked into universities, the academia part, like how are we doing this with the skill set? It's not that bad. 40%, 30% of the graduates of your engineering schools, your IT schools are women. But then where are they disappearing? So then I kind of consciously started working on this within my team, within the teams of other competitors. We came up with this formal and informal exchange of profiles. Just to get more and more women out. I started talking to universities a lot because when I kind of evolved in my professional career, I had the title or the authority to engage other stakeholders to talk more about, having a more gender neutral sector as far as energy and STEM is concerned. And I think in all these years, we've come a long way, I must say. I'm seeing lots of leaps and bounds in the energy space. I'm seeing lots of opportunities, lots of prioritization being given to female candidates. I was at NEPRA 2 days ago and a meeting with the chairman, and I was surprised to see that he invited all his senior staff to come and meet, and 40% of them were female. So he has doubled the numbers in NEPRA. Now they had 40 women working in NEPRA at senior positions. They were thinking of a daycare center. So things are evolving, things are changing. I'm engaged with this other power systems improvement activity project with USAID, and we have an all-female team from RTIDC, all female, technical, non-technical, everybody's female. So I'm seeing lots of positive things happening now, and I really think the industry has evolved from the time when we started. And I think there's a lot of room and space now for young girls to enter and for women to grow up the ladder. There is still a gap of skill set, competencies, capacity building, which exists in any field, right? And that needs to be built up for all kinds of professionals. But it's definitely, we're headed in a good direction as far as the nexus is concerned between women and energy and STEM.
Fantastic, thank you. Just to tell you that when I started in the energy sector, which was 20 plus years ago, believe me, I was the only woman sitting in the entire room as well. And I questioned too, where are the rest of the women? But when I did question that, at that point, they used to laugh. But now they don't laugh. So, it wasn't too long ago, since you are giving me the same experience, that the system has changed now. Yeah. Now, tell me something. Since you managed to do this and enter the field, tell us more about your story. How is it that you achieved your career goals?
So, as I said earlier, it used to be very intimidating. I'll be honest. Walking into a room of 100 men, sitting on a panel alone, sitting on in an organization, being the only woman in the building, not having access to any female toilets, small challenges. Like nobody considered to have a female toilet because no woman comes in the building, right? So like these kind of things really get to you when you're out there, when you're trying to establish yourself. And my challenge was, I was not just a woman, I was also the youngest professional in the room. So one, you're trying to contest your age, and then you're trying to contest your gender, and you're kind of wanting to give up at every moment. But then I, because of the nature of the work, and I was so kind of enthusiastic about solving that energy challenge for Pakistan, there was so much opportunity in the sector, you know, from macro IPPs, which we launched, to commercial sector solar plants, to off-grid projects, which later became internationally certified best practices. The opportunity was overwhelming. And I kind of just kept going and going. And I now tell this to young girls out there when I do my inspirational talks and mentorship sessions. We didn't have that back in our days. We didn't have mentoring. We didn't have counseling. We didn't have other women coming and telling us that, you know, it's okay, we've been through this. You'll get through it and you'll come out stronger than before. So I do a lot of that now. And I tell them that once I realize that I need to focus on my own professional competence so people take me seriously, rather than a young woman who's out there for a bit and then she's going to get married away. So, you know, work on your professional competence, leave your gender aside, leave your age aside, and just sit there as a professional. Talk like a professional, know what you know like a professional, upgrade your professional competence. And only then, being the youngest woman in the room will become your strength rather than your weakness, you know? So now when I'm on a panel and I'm the only woman in the room, when I'm speaking with the president of the Asian Development Bank at the Clean Energy Asia Forum, you know, being the only woman on the Dimer Basha Dam project, that is my strength. And I have the authority and place now to kind of make room for other women to come through, you know, and create a more gender sensitive ecosystem. So it's just about, I think it starts from the individual, and it really begins by taking yourself as a professional and not letting your gender come in the way. Once you decide that, the industry is way more open now. Mindsets have changed now. In NEPRA, I saw children running around the chairman's office outside. And I asked, who are these children? And they said, "Ji, wo madam hoti hai, teesre floor pe unke bacche aate hain." Sweet. We didn't have that back then, you know? So it's really, it's a much lesser struggle now, but the women out there just need to realize that this is a whole untapped industry for them to explore. And there are lots of opportunities for women out there in this, if they decide themselves to head out like a professional, being competent and strong.
Yes, I hope people who are listening are actually taking this down, these notes down of how we have to conduct ourselves, you know, very professionally. Let me ask you just one more question. Now that you're on, you mentioned that you're on the Dimer Basha project, you're on the board. How do you advocate for the gender agenda? And basically, you know, how many women staff are part of the Dimer Basha project, and do you find that there are issues like harassment in the workplace or in the field? And if there is, I mean, there's a high chance there is, how do they overcome them? You know, what are the policies and facilities that are, you know, put in for these female staffs?
Right. So, Fowzia, I obviously work on 2 different streams, right? And on multiple projects. So gender is one stream and climate change is another. And then there's always a nexus between the 2. So harassment and kind of the problems working women have when they go out of their house to work, from mobility to harassment to, you know, unfair pay advantages, lots of things. They happen in every sector, right? They happen in the corporate sector, they happen in the energy sector, they happen across the board. So that's a separate challenge that needs to be resolved, and I'm working on different projects for that, including the Male Champions of Change project that I launched with the Australian government in Pakistan. Now, in the energy space, what am I going to do to enhance the gender ratio is obviously when I'm sitting in a certain position now, and this is what I do not just for Dimer Basha, but for any position of action or advocacy like the UNFCCC or Baksh Energy, my own enterprise, is basically to, one, make employment gender sensitive, to give a chance, equally competent chance to women, to try to, and this is what we're doing with the Power Systems Improvement Activity Project too, consciously sourcing females out there, because there is female talent out there. You just need to headhunt them a bit stronger. They're just not sitting at the top of the froth of the cup. You just have to kind of sit down a bit. But if you make an effort, you will find the right professionals who are women and give them the opportunity they deserve. So that's what I'm trying to do, kind of deep dive into it and get more and more women, give them the opportunity. And then also with the communities, just like my Roshna Bibi back in the days with Lighting a Million Lives, which became an international best practice, I'm trying to create a nexus between women's economic empowerment and access to energy in the villages we work in as well, and making that a key component of our off-grid projects. Because I feel a great opportunity for women's economic livelihood in off-grid areas. So wherever you can, just try to mainstream gender throughout the nexus, because we are 50% of the population, right? So it's just a logical formula.
Fantastic, Fowzia. Thank you very much. It's very inspiring to hear you. And I'm sure me being where I am, if I'm inspired, the people who are listening to you right now on this forum are going to be very inspired as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think Shoaib is back online.